Congress to try to get a framework, a legal framework for stablecoins, which would have been a nice place to start. We were not successful. I think that the climate is changing and you're moving into sort of more mainstreaming of that whole sector. So Congress is again looking at, both the Senate and the House are looking at a framework, a legal framework for stablecoins. Depending on what's in it, that's a good idea. We need that. There isn't one now. And stablecoins are a digital product that could actually have fairly wide appeal and should contain consumer protections of the typical sorts and transparency. And that's what the Senate and the House are working on. So that's a positive thing. We took a pretty conservative, and other bank regulators took an even more conservative perspective on the guidance and rules we imposed on banks. I think there'll be some loosening of that. And I think we'll try to do it in a way that preserves safety and soundness, but that, permits and fosters appropriate innovation, that does so in a way that, again, doesn't put consumers at risk in ways they don't understand or make banks less safe and sound.
Now, as you guys already know that have been around crypto for a while, a stablecoin is different from an altcoin. For those of you that don't know and that see something like USDT up here, thinking that you're buying something at $1 and you're going to make a whole bunch of money, little do those people know that a stablecoin is supposed to operate like the US dollar and hold a value to $1 with the intention of being used as liquidity to trade in and out of different projects. On top of that, to be able to hedge during times of volatility because of how rapid altcoins fluctuate. The only time that you're going to see a stablecoin fluctuate is if what happened with UST during Terra Luna's collapse when it depegged. So what Jerome Powell said is extremely important because to bring viability and legitimacy to the crypto industry, stablecoin regulation needs to be enacted. And on top of that, there just needs to be more trading volume within stablecoins too. And if we look at this, stablecoin transactions surpassed Visa in 2024 alone. And we've seen a drastic increase from even 2021 during the last bull run cycle. Now, back in December of 2024, Brad Garlinghouse made this post saying, "This just in, we have final approval from the New York Department of Financial Services that regulates the activities of companies, banks, and other financial institutions in New York State for their stablecoin RLUSD and exchange and partner listings. They've been dropping on Ripple's main account, on top of the SEC announcing that they abandoned their appeal against Ripple. But the reason why this matters and you should know about RLUSD is because they're now integrated into Ripple payments, enabling real-time cross-border payments backed by institutional grade compliance, transparency, and trust. But in my video about 13 days ago, I talked about this and I found this very interesting, where shortly after Brad Garlinghouse went on 60 Minutes and did this interview talking about Ripple's lawsuit versus the SEC, the cryptocurrency industry, regulation, you name it, Ripple created this meme of him saying lock in shortly after with him in a rocket ship. And in this image right here from Bearable Guy, we can see in the upper right hand corner, we can see a knight in a rocket ship blasting off to the moon, which in previous videos we've talked about how the knight has been decoded as Brad Garlinghouse. Well, how convenient was it for 60 Minutes to release this episode the same week that the SEC announced that they abandoned their appeal against Ripple? I don't think this is a coincidence. I think this is all strategic timing. So more on the Federal Reserve and the SEC in a little bit. And it's even weirder that Ripple put Brad in a rocket ship here, blasting off to where? The moon. And also right around the same time in December, he announced RLUSD's approval. So Brad goes on a media campaign to do an interview with 60 Minutes. The SEC drops the appeal, Ripple's stablecoin gets approved. So don't you guys find that a little bit weird? Also in the rest of this video, we talk about some other riddles decoded, like this arm with a missing button on it, ringing the bell right here. And also Trump rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And these little Easter eggs right here, like this mallet above the New York Stock Exchange, potentially being the mallet above the fireplace here with the Triskelion Ripple logo. On top of that, the missing button, plus Donald Trump missing a button when he rang the bell. So this was posted December 12th, 2024. And this riddle was posted December 24th, 2022, 2 years prior. So unless this is all just a coincidence, it is super weird that these cartoon images right here posted from Bearable Guy years prior have been coming true in regards to Ripple and XRP. And even right here, the banner image shows an XRP snowball rolling down a hill. And a few years ago, this XRP snowball actually used to be a lot smaller, and it was where the sunflower was, and then it was where the bamboo shoot is. And I would assume that the owner of this account, whoever it is going to replace this banner image when the XRP snowball gets to the final snowball. And what will be replacing it right where it's at right now? Well, we'll find out soon. And on top of that, we're going to discuss what's happening with the ISO standard towards the end of this video. Check this out. Uphold's Nancy Beaton explains how RLUSD sets the new standard for stablecoins, and not only that, but can be used to trade for gold.
The stablecoin market is really evolving. It's said that up to 90% of all transactions in crypto and on the blockchain involve stablecoins today. Uphold is unique. Unlike a traditional exchange, we do have a platform that underpins where people could come, and we connect to 30 different trading venues. Ripple USD, which will be listed as RLUSD on the platform, will allow users to have that almost digital dollar in their wallet. And they will be able to use it, spend it, buy crypto, have peer-to-peer remittance. And the really great thing about the RLUSD token is that it will have the transparency, the regulatory process behind it that will allow people to feel comfortable when they are purchasing and using it for payment. Stablecoins are going to be the killer use case for crypto right now. And I think it's because they are efficient, they are fast settlement, it can be 24/7, and they're really cost effective to use. And so we're able to bring that to our customers and give them the transparency and the utility they're looking for.
And also Simon McLaughlin from Uphold said, as regulatory clarity comes in places like Europe, UK, Singapore, Dubai, greater institutional adoption is coming.
There's a slightly different point, which is as regulation is now finally becoming clearer in the UK, in Europe in particular, in places like Singapore and Dubai, as the regs become clearer, you're going to get greater enterprise adoption. You're also going to get greater adoption from the traditional finance world. So we've now been approached by several banks who are interested in white labeling our service. Again, they don't want our wallet. They don't want their customers have to go through KYC twice, but they do want to plug in and access certain of our core services.
So if they're saying that, why would they hold $1.28 billion in XRP? And so when a company wants a white label, they just basically want to slap their logo on something you already created. And so with Uphold being extremely bullish on XRP and them making partnerships, strategic partnerships with these banks, well, guess what? RLUSD transactions will bridge through XRP.
You can take RLUSD to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to RLUSD, you could take RLUSD to gold. So on our platform, you can really trade anything to anything. So it makes it really easy for the user to get in and out of what they want.
Fed is expected to move in June, right after the SEC's 60-day window closes. So could this be a coincidence? Well, it's highly unlikely, because when regulators and banks are aligning timelines on top of Jerome Powell talking about stablecoins, Ripple having RLUSD, it's not noise, guys, it's choreography. XRP isn't just watching from the sidelines, it's part of the script in the movie, and it also, you guys can see, it's the second largest altcoin, only behind Ethereum, and it's closing in. It's at 122 billion, Ethereum's at 191 billion, and XRP actually used to be the second largest cryptocurrency in the world up until the SEC filed the lawsuit against Ripple. So in 20 days, the FOMC meeting is coming up, and 83% are expecting the Fed to keep rates steady. Again, that's what I just said, keeping rates higher for longer. Only 16.8% are expecting a rate cut. But guess what? By June 18th, the SEC's 60-day window is up, and also the Fed is expected to cut rates. Interesting, huh? And what do you know? A month after that, by July 14th, the ISO 222 messaging standard format for the Fedwire Fund Service is going to go through a single-day implementation. With this implementation, they will sunset the existing proprietary Fedwire application interface manual format and replace all FAIM messages with the ISO 222 messaging standard. Guys, this is massive. This is the biggest deal in US banking history happening right in front of our eyes. And also, Senator Mike Lee just asked Jerome Powell a question, and his answer shocked everybody.
So eliminating the Federal Reserve is best for promoting economic stability.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's all you needed to hear. Yes, that was his answer. Abolishing the Federal Reserve. So he agrees with it, but he's not going to go down without a fight. Donald Trump wants to fire Jerome Powell. If you guys didn't watch my previous video the other day, I talked about the total interest that the government has to pay based on their bonds and the spending being completely out of control. But the most important part of this video, and the reason why I got over 22,000 views, in my opinion, is because Trump just asked the Supreme Court to let him fire top agency officials, which would give him the power to fire the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. So it's not some random business owner or owner of a bank saying that they should fire the Fed. This is the President of the United States asking Congress to fire the Federal Reserve chair, guys. It doesn't get any more legit than that. Now, will he have the power to do that? I don't know. We'll see. But there's going to be some major changes happening in the government, as there are already with the Department of Government Efficiency. This just in, $110 billion Van Eck proposes bit bonds for the US to buy more Bitcoin and refinance its $14 trillion in debt. So America is embracing Bitcoin, and you know what that means for altcoins. It's